This is me in a 2013 production of Taming of the Shrew with Proscenium Players, Inc., PPI for short. As an actress, I had no idea the trouble the company was in. With money in the bank, the company had become complacent. Shows were over budget, and internal power struggles began. In 2014, I decided to run for a position on the board, and got it, not knowing the company was a sinking ship. By 2015, the bank balance was down to just a few $100s. So what changed? Why is PPI still producing today? How is it that auditions for Bus Stop are this weekend? This change case told me all about it. The 2015 board president developed a shared vision that it was time to get back to basics. It wasn't going to be easy for the first all-volunteer board, but it would be worth it. Very worth it. The 2015 board really hit the target by going back to basics. They decided to play it smart and produce a series of one-act plays which had 2 scripts which had no royalties. In addition, instead of creating productions themselves, they decided to partner with other theater companies. They also held 2 bake sales and a warehouse sale where PPI sold props. This netted PPI enough money to produce Arsenic and Old Lace in 2016. This going back to basics, this shared vision, this all-in attitude may have just saved the company. Arsenic and Old Lace created enough money to produce Spamalot, but something else happened. PPI made a handshake agreement with the Brewery Arts Center to take their sound equipment and their lights, and to step in as the producer for all of its shows. This has some members very worried because there is no contract right now confirming this relationship. Yes, PPI needs a container. They need a place to perform. But without a legally binding agreement with the BAC, they're becoming like a frog in the boiling water. It's fine now. The water's just fine. But the BAC has already begun to exert power over PPI, including trying to have an impact on what shows they produce. This could be a threat to the longevity of the organization. And what if Another issue with PPI is that things slip through the cracks. There's a myth of the management team. What they really are people who care a whole lot, but they're involved part-time. They're volunteers. Not everything can get caught 100% of the time, and that's part of the problem. Even grants management is an issue, as there's no one to make sure that they can comply with the grants that they're receiving. This also leads to a power struggle, and masks come off. The president is an employee of the BAC. The treasurer is very vocal about the process or lack thereof, but she's retiring from the board in June of next year. In fact, the board is up for re-election every year, which results in a very unstable environment. And processes, even though they get started, sometimes they're not completed. Likewise, some PPI leaders just do not have the traits to be in the positions that they're in. They stepped up because somebody needed to, anybody, and they cared enough to. But sometimes that just isn't enough. This constant change at PPI threatens to propel them straight back to 2014. Constant change results in unstable processes, lack of shared vision year over year, and is a weakness of the organization. PPI is funded by ticket sales, program ad sales, memberships, and small grants from the Nevada Arts Council. They've been in existence for 51 years, but business as usual and the myth of learning from experience results in a huge blind spot for the organization. So how will PPI sustain themselves? They must develop a shared vision for what they want to do and develop processes to match that vision. They need a grant-funded executive director to carry out the details and assure compliance with grants. They also need to commit to developing community partnerships and having contracts with those people in the community that they do partner with. PPI has placed themselves in the position of being theater arts consultants to the Brewery Arts Center. As such, they need to act as consultants. Perhaps if they read Flawless Consulting, they could get some tips. PPI also needs to culture build, both within the organization and with patrons. By building an ad-free brand, PPI will be able to express who they are, why attend PPI shows, and why they're a good value for the money in a market where ticket price does matter and over 50% of the population make under $50,000 a year. If PPI follows these recommendations, they may not just see themselves to their 50th, 55th, or 60th, or even 75th year, but possibly 100th and on through time. This is an organization that does have what it takes to make it if they can just listen to a few simple suggestions. Thank you, Dr. Matthews, for enabling this change project. I will be presenting it to Proscenium Players, Inc. in the first board meeting of February 2017. I hope you enjoy this presentation and apologize for my sicky voice and my sicky face.